everybody. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about something that happened to me a few months ago. It was a little bit scary, so at the time I didn't really want to talk about it, but I want to talk about it now because I'm thinking that maybe if this happened, similar type of thing to one of you, then maybe it would give me a little bit of clarity. So it started out where, so I was like 36 at the time. And it started out that I thought I was pregnant. So with my first two pregnancies, I had a lot of breast pain very early on. So this time I had even more so. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so obvious I'm totally pregnant. And then I was having like a lot of the similar symptoms I've had before, but just much stronger. So I thought, oh my gosh, like, I just got to start, taking like some pregnancy tests. Like I know it's super early, but maybe like my HCG levels are so high that maybe it will pop up pregnant like earlier, which it did not. But around the same time where I tested positive with my first two, I got a faint line. So then I was kind of like, okay, well, so then it seems like I am, but then like, am I? Because like the faint line, like then I could just be like a false positive. So I was like, okay, let me continue testing. So then after that, it was just showed up negative. So I'm like, okay, what's going on? So as background, so my cycle was about probably like 3 weeks at that time. So I would like have a period, then I have like maybe 2 or 3 weeks or 2 to 2.5 weeks in between, and then I would have it again. So that's how it was going on this time. Or that's how it was going, how it had been going. And so then now by this time I'm running late, and so I'm like, okay, but like now I'm testing negative, but like I swear, like I feel like my breasts are gonna like bust out, like they're gonna explode. Like what is going on? This is so strange. So I had read about like some people, they had like their HCG levels so high that, they were just giving like false negatives. So I was like, oh, hopefully it's something like that. But I didn't know. So I scheduled with the doctor to see if I could just get a blood test so I could just know what the heck was going on. And then if it wasn't pregnancy, then like, is there something hormonal going on with me that's causing this to happen? So I went to the doctor's office. They did the same type of like over-the-counter test, which was also negative on their side. So then we proceeded to do the blood test. So the blood test ending up, I think by the time it came back, it was like, and by the time I had gone there and come back, I think it was like six weeks since I had like had my last period. So when it finally came back, then it was negative. So I went to the doctors, and because they called me that was negative, and so I said, okay, it's like what's going on with me? So like if it's negative, or maybe they gave me the results in person, I can't remember. But anyway, the point is that it was negative. So at that point, I'm actually having leakage from my breast. So I'm like, I feel like my breasts are like producing milk. Like what is going on? Like how could I not be pregnant? Like what is happening? Because like when I was pregnant with my like my children, I was producing like colostrum, and so I told the doctor like I have and like at first I just felt like, something was leaking, but then finally when I saw, I had it show up on my actual shirt that was leaking. And then if you try to like collect colostrum and you just like squeeze, like it will come out, and it's like a golden color. So at one point I had that color, and then another point I had like a milky color. So I'm like, but it was just leaking out. So I'm like, and only one breast. So at that point I was like, okay, is there some sort of like breast cancer thing like going on? So my doctor did not so she did a breast exam, so because she wanted to check everything out. So she said she didn't think that it was breast cancer. It didn't feel like a lump or anything like that, but it was best to be safe to check and go get a mammogram done. So one thing she mentioned was that it was possible that I had an early miscarriage, and that it had caused the body to kind of like, starting things up again and whatnot. But that, by the time that we did the testing and everything like that, that everything was just showing negative. So it's possible to happen, but there's just no way to like ever know type of thing. So the other thing she mentioned was that some women spontaneously after having kids, they within like a year of like stopping breastfeeding, they actually just like randomly start producing milk again. So she said it could be something like that. So I'm curious to see if there's somebody else who had that just randomly start happening. And then, she also mentioned it could be nothing. It could be, there could be a possibility it could be like a breast cancer situation. So interesting thing is that when I was like surprised by this, so she gave me the referrals to go get the mammogram done, and I called up, and there's like a 2-week wait to get a mammogram done. So I was a little surprised by that, because I feel like there are a lot of instances, if you do end up having cancer, where, you know, they're like, oh, you've got like 2 weeks to live or whatever, blah blah. Like, if you have 2 weeks to wait just to get to like that appointment, I was like a little bit surprised by that. So I would have thought that people, but maybe it happens, maybe it has to do with like how urgent the situation is. So maybe because, you know, I didn't have a lump or anything like that, then maybe it's like, maybe people, if you do have a lump, then you get in sooner. I'm not really sure, but I was just surprised by that, because it's very serious. So I was talking to my husband about it, and like there was a period of time where I was like, you know, maybe I should just cancel this appointment, because she doesn't think it is, like, doesn't run in my family. So I was like, maybe I should just not, you know, waste like insurance money or deductible, whatever, and like waste of time to get this done. Like, maybe I should just like forget about this, because it's probably just something normal. But then he was like, no, like, you have to go, because he lost his mother to breast cancer. So for him, it's, you know, it's more serious than it would even be for me. So I'm actually really happy that I kept the appointment, because I went to the appointment. You get the results like the same day. So like, that's like the best part. Like, you don't have to wait. So that's really nice. So going to the appointment, it was really cute. I don't know if all places do this, but they were giving out flowers that day to everyone after appointments. So that was really nice. But you go in there and they give you like, at least the place I went to, they gave you like, a locker where you could put your things. And then you have like a little thing on your wrist that you put for like the key to your locker, because everybody gets into robes. You're all, it's like a little awkward, because you're like sitting in there just like a group of women. I know men can get breast cancer too. I actually know, when I used to work for a doctor's office, I knew of a patient that had breast cancer. I think had to have a double mastectomy. So men, you know, definitely keep on alert for that as well, for sure. But in particular, that day, it was a group of women that were in there. So we're all in like, I think, pink robes, and just like sitting there, like no bras on or anything like that. So we're just like sitting there, just cold. And then once you get to your time where you're called in, you go into the room, and it was like, so don't do this. It was so awkward. So like, the lady asked me, I swear she said like, you know, remove your robe or remove like your breast or something like that. And I just like took like the robe off, and she's like, no, you can't like stand there in front of me topless. And I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. And she's like, you can only remove one breast at a time. So you have to like, take one side off, and then you put that back, and then you take the other side off, and then you have to like stick your like mammary gland into like this machine. It's not like, it's a machine, it's like this thing, and it like squashes it down. For me, it was very painful, because my breasts were like already very painful. So then it's like, it basically feels like a blood pressure cuff, and then going onto your breast. They just like squeeze in all these different angles, almost like they're taking like an x-ray type of thing. And then you like, you know, walk into it, and then sees it that way, and then you like, or you're kind of like hunched over this way and whatnot. So this is like, it's a little bit awkward. I feel bad for the person doing it, but honestly, she seems so used to it. I don't think she cared. I used to do EKGs when I worked for the doctor. So I definitely saw a lot of breasts in my time, and honestly, it didn't bother me, but it's just still awkward going in there and doing it. So then I, afterwards waited for the follow-up. And by that time I was actually really nervous. And I was like, oh geez, like, you know, I'm thinking like of the worst, or I'm scared, like whatever. She said everything looked fine. She did mention it was possible that it could, you know, we talked about like, I was saying how the doctor said it was possible it could have been like an early miscarriage. So when I was explaining the symptoms, she was like, okay, you know, that can make sense. They did refer me afterwards to see a breast specialist, but then it turned out within like, I think like the next week or two, ended up that I stopped having like any type of leakage. So, oh, and the other symptom I was having was I was like itching on my side of like the breast. So, and like one of the symptoms of breast cancer, I think, was also like dry skin or something. So that had to like freak me out a little bit. But either way, I was fine. My results were all good. I commend all the women who have to go through that, especially who have to have it more frequently, because they do have breast cancer going on. Because I don't know how it is like if your breasts aren't already sore, but again, for me, it was painful just because of how sore my breasts were. And then the next day I got my period. But yeah, I just want to put that out there in case anyone else has had this happen. Maybe can give me another idea of what could have occurred. But otherwise, yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.